And Banana's wife says, hey, I just had dinner with Locke and his wife. They say they're doing a show with you. And I said, yeah. And I, again, don't know how she got my phone number. So this seems urgent. And she says something that, like, chills go down my back. I never eat the burrito, spoiler alert. She says, I'm just calling you because I wish someone would have warned me. Oh. She does about an hour of a monologue at me about how, you know, she thinks that his wife is like Phil Hartman's wife. That she wouldn't trust her to hold a baby.
Who would have thought the Key and Peele drama started because of their wives? This situation is so disturbing that the gothic community don't even want to deal with this. We're about to break down all these details, but before we do, make sure y'all do me a favor, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel.
One of the strangest things about Jordan Peele's Hollywood rise is that Keegan-Michael Key is nowhere in it. And once you notice it, it becomes hard to ignore. Key and Peele were one of the greatest comedy duos of the modern era. They had the timing, the chemistry, the writing, the characters, the cultural impact. Their show gave us sketches that still get quoted years later. They were not some random double act thrown together by a network. They had a real creative language. Then the show ends and Jordan Peele becomes one of the most important filmmakers in Hollywood. Get Out becomes a phenomenon. Us proves he wasn't a one-hit wonder. Nope shows he can make a big original studio film with his own voice. Whether you love every movie or not, Jordan Peele became a director whose name alone sells tickets. He went from one half of a sketch comedy duo to an Oscar-winning filmmaker with a level of creative control most comedians never even get close to. And through all of that, Keegan-Michael Key is never really part of it. That doesn't automatically mean they hate each other. To be fair, the public version has always been much softer than that. Key has said he and Jordan do not see each other as often anymore, which he called a tragedy, but he explained it as life moving in different directions.
You can never take it away from him. He's got an Oscar. You can't take it away from him. And then I got a little verklempt. Yeah. Then I cried. Oh, yeah, I did. I'm just so proud of him because he started working on this script the year after he left Mad TV. So that's 9 years ago. That's about 9 years ago.
Peele lives in Los Angeles, and creatively Jordan moved into horror while Key moved into other acting work. Key has also said their friendship is still good and that when they reconnect, they pick up where they left off. So the official story is not a dramatic breakup. The official story is distance. But now, because of Akilah Hughes' recent story, people are looking at that distance differently. Hughes told a story about a comedy duo she coded as Locke and Banana, which most people online have interpreted as Keegan-Michael Key and Jordan Peele. She did not simply say these two stopped working together. Her story was about a failed television deal, a sketch comedy project, and the alleged involvement of Key's wife behind the scenes.
Before we continue, I just want to let you guys know that when she says Locke and Banana, you need a key for a lock, and the Peele is already on the banana. So when she says Locke and Banana, she's talking about Key and Peele. Now that we got a clear understanding of what's going on, let's get back into this video.
Their code names could be Locke and Banana. And Locke is gonna use his name to carry you to the forefront of pop culture. And so we came up with a pitch. We practiced it. It was like so good. I mean, like not only is there a keynote presentation, but there are videos. We get one of the people pitching with us to go on Piers Morgan and force him to say the tagline from the show, unwittingly. We are selling the show all over town. And, you know, we get a few offers, which is like a feeling that like is unlike any other, where you're like, we are wanted, like it's coming together. And during the pitch process, Locke gets his dream. He's asked to host SNL, and he does. And we have this agreement. We're like, and you're gonna say the name of the show, you're just gonna put it in there at the end when you're doing your thank yous at the end of SNL. And we should have known then that like he didn't say it. And it was like the only thing he had to say. But there were some things he said that were like weird, and thanking his wife, who becomes a weird main character in this whole story. And so my agent at the time calls me, and she goes, how is pitching going? How do people feel about Locke? And I'm like, oh my God, they love him. Everybody loves Locke. And she's like, that's great, that's great. How do they feel about his wife, who is now somehow the executive producer on my show? And I'm like, I hadn't really thought about it. I don't think people like her very much. And she's like, yeah, that's what I'm hearing. And I'm like, okay, so like, are you saying like we're not gonna be able to sell this? And she's like, listen, people like you and they like Locke. It'll come together. And so I forgive this sort of moment. But, that should have been the red flag where I said, hey, maybe we like pause this. We haven't sold it yet. We're all still free. Let's just recalibrate. Not me. I was like, no, because it's more important to have a celebrity attached.
According to her version, the wife started giving creative notes that Hughes found bizarre, including things like comedy happens in threes, the letter K is funny, and telling the writers to give the audience some candy. Hughes also claimed that after those ideas were not embraced, legal threats were made toward the network, which led the network to pay the couple to leave the project and forced Hughes to write a new pilot.
So when she said give the audience some sugar, was she talking about some booger sugar?
Now let me pause there because I brought a text. I brought something that was another red flag that I should have seen. This is from Dumois, an anonymous blind item that someone submitted. They said, since Locke was hosting SNL, I wanted to say, whenever I see him, I can only think of his wife. She has a bunch of food allergies. And she had an allergy attack about a eucalyptus plant by her table at Tribeca Grill. And then, in parentheses, on the celeb sighting list. Acting like she couldn't breathe. The plant was fake, and I showed it to her. She just said, oh, and acted totally normal after that. He was very nice about it and apologized after. He left a good tip. Bizarre, though. And so she threatens to sue the company. She threatens to sue the Vermin. And so for a month, we hear nothing. We're no longer in pre-production. We're waiting around. My dreams, the thing I quit my dream job for, thinking I was gonna be ushered into the pop culture memory of the United States of America, is on hold. And they get back to us after a month and they say, hey, we paid them off the project, but you have to write a whole new pilot. And I'm like, at this point, well, fuck, like these are all our best ideas. And also, like, they're like, one day you can perform that for the internet, but like we own the TV rights to that. So we do what writers do. We come back together and we write a banger script. Because we know that if the Vermin has nothing, they have IP. And we write a script that is filled with Muppets. We believe that we're gonna have something worth fighting for.
By the time that happened, the writers' strike and corporate cuts had hit, and the project died. The story has since been covered as an allegation, not as proven fact. That part alone would already be messy. But the story gets even more interesting when Hughes claims she received a warning call from Banana's wife, widely assumed online to mean Chelsea Peretti, Jordan Peele's wife.
Excuse me, what do you do for a living?
I clean rain gutters.
And who's this?
Bobo Jangles.
Are you two a couple?
Yeah.
And how long have you been together?
1,000.
Y'all think she was trying to be funny, but I think she's dead serious. This man involved with a whole demon that's been roaming this earth for 1,003,987 years.
According to Hughes, this call was basically a warning about Key's wife. Hughes claims Peretti told her there were open secrets around her.
And Banana's wife says, hey, I just had dinner with Locke and his wife. They say they're doing a show with you. And I said, yeah. And I, again, don't know how she got my phone number. So this seems urgent. And she says something that, like, chills go down my back. I never eat the burrito, spoiler alert. She says, I'm just calling you because I wish someone would have warned me. She does about an hour of a monologue at me about how, she thinks that his wife is like Phil Hartman's wife. That she wouldn't trust her to hold a baby.
The Phil Hartman reference is heavy because it points to one of Hollywood's darkest cautionary stories. In 1998, SNL and news radio star Phil Hartman was killed by his wife, Bryn Hartman, before she died by suicide. Reports around the case described a troubled marriage, substance abuse relapse, and serious domestic conflict before the tragedy. Over the years, people have also discussed Bryn's alleged insecurity around Phil's success and the control issues inside the relationship, which is why the comparison is so disturbing. It's not a direct comparison to Key's situation, and it shouldn't be treated like one. But when someone brings up Phil Hartman in this context, they're usually suggesting a fear of a spouse becoming dangerously disruptive behind the scenes.
I tried to get him to divorce that lady a bunch of times
Really?
while I was working with him. Yeah, because they would fight like crazy fights where he would just disappear for a couple. He would leave the house and he was telling me he wanted to get divorced, but he didn't want the lawyers to take a third because it's like I was like just give
Third?
It. I was
How
like,
about a half?
No. The it's 2/3. So the lawyer takes a third. This is what he was telling me. It's like I go, just give her half. You're always going to make money. Just get out, be free. Just be, and he was terrified of that. He was terrified of leaving. And so when he finally decided to leave, she murdered him in his sleep. She shot him and then she shot herself. And my friend who was a cop was actually there when she shot herself.
So that happened when the police approached the house?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
According to Akilah Hughes, Chelsea Peretti's alleged warning went beyond vague concern. Hughes claims Peretti described Keegan-Michael Key's wife as erratic and professionally disruptive, including stories about strange behavior at social events, and claims that she had cost Key opportunities behind the scenes. My theory is that Jordan Peele may have asked Peretti to make that call instead of doing it himself, because warning Hughes directly could have put him in an awkward position with Key and possibly damaged a long-term friendship. So if this story is true, Peretti may have been acting as the messenger for a concern Jordan didn't want attached to his own name.
That she once poured alcohol on her birthday cake and this person is sober. And the thing I moved to LA for this job. I'm not a woo-woo person, but this woo-woo thing happened, and I do think it was like the Lord. She says to me while I'm watching the opening ceremonies, mouth agape, there's a sweaty man from Tonga, and she says, there's no accounting for how much money she's cost that black man. And the light above the television burned out. This is a second red flag. I should take the hint. It's not gonna happen for me.
Again, these are Hughes's claims. We don't have a public statement from Chelsea Peretti confirming this version. We don't have Key publicly confirming it. We don't have Jordan Peele publicly confirming it. But as a piece of Hollywood gossip, it immediately grabbed people's attention because it appears to connect to a question fans have had for years. Why has Jordan Peele never put Keegan-Michael Key in one of his major films? Because yes, there are normal explanations. Maybe Jordan simply wanted to build his film career away from the Key and Peele brand. That makes sense. If Key suddenly appears in Get Out, a lot of people in the audience immediately think, oh, it's Key and Peele. That could distract from the tone. Jordan was trying to establish himself as a serious filmmaker, not just a sketch comedian trying horror for the first time. Maybe Key didn't fit the roles. Maybe schedules didn't line up. Maybe both of them agreed that Jordan's films needed to stand apart from their comedy partnership. All of that is possible, but it is still strange. Because Jordan Peele has become powerful enough in Hollywood to cast almost whoever he wants. And Keegan-Michael Key is a proven actor. He can do comedy. He can do drama. He has the range to fit somewhere in a Peele movie, even if it's a small role. So when years go by and Key is never really folded into that world, people are going to wonder if there is something else there. That's where Akilah Hughes' story becomes fuel for speculation. If Peele's wife really had such a strong dislike or concern toward Key's wife that she allegedly called a stranger to warn her, then it is not crazy to ask whether that tension may have affected the relationship around the duo. Not necessarily because Jordan and Key hate each other. It could be more subtle than that.
But I think, you know what? Me and Ratatouille's boss, we're gonna keep going. They don't have to be that involved. They're non-writing EPs. They're just lending their name to the project. So we start grinding on a pilot. That's the job. We are meeting, and I'll tell you, Locke is busy shooting a movie with Timothy Chalamet, a remake of some sort of property that never needed to come to fruition. Hasn't helped Timmy's career at all. And I asked my agent, I'm like, should I fly to London? Should I warn him about what I've heard? And she said, that's a grown-ass man. He chose to marry that person. Don't do it.
If someone close to Jordan's camp allegedly disliked her that much, it raises an obvious question. Did that dislike make collaboration more difficult? Because Jordan Peele is not just Jordan, the old comedy partner anymore. He is Jordan Peele, the filmmaker. He has a company. He has a carefully protected creative identity. So if bringing Key into a project also means bringing possible baggage, tension, or outside interference, maybe Jordan decided it was cleaner to keep that world separate. Again, that is speculation. But it is the kind of speculation people are making because the absence is so visible. Key not being in one Jordan Peele movie could be nothing. Key not being in any of them starts to feel like a choice. And that choice becomes more interesting when stories like Hughes start circulating. The sad thing is, fans probably don't even need a full Key and Peele reunion movie. Most people would have been happy with one cameo, one small scene, something that quietly acknowledged the history without turning the movie into a sketch reunion. But Jordan never did it. And that says something.
That is just a project that I could not talk about, that was never announced, that was supposed to be my dream, that fell by the wayside. But, you know, there is an upside to this. You know, Julie said at the beginning, there are beginnings and endings all the time. And so that did end. And look, you know, what can be said? Locke, he's still playing, you know, I don't know, a frog in a movie about a video game, something like that. He never gets to be himself in public, and his partner has won Oscars. And everyone knows that his wife has ruined his career. It is diminishing returns. He's doing insurance commercials where there are other celebrities in it who are playing themselves, and he is playing a guy with a guitar. And that's the story of how close I came before Hollywood died.
This is beyond crazy. I heard stories about Jay Leno's wife being a tyrant. So for all you men out there, be careful who you marry, because your wife might just ruin your career or end your life depending on your fame. If you get too famous and she get too jealous and she want to be in charge of everything, she might just take your life. Hopefully Key and Peele work something out. If he get a divorce, then maybe Peele will want to work with him again, but it's not looking like that's going to happen. It's sad to see such a talent have a horrible career because of who he's married to. Y'all let me know how y'all feel about this in the comment section.